Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your podcast.
Just your podcast. The People's Podcast.
We are a podcast for the peoples. Penne for your thoughts. I'm Gandalf.
And I'm Legolas.
Today, Emma's gonna tell me some Lord of the Rings things.
And The Hobbit.
Oh, and The Hobbit.
Them because they're basically
Yeah.
They're in the same universe.
Okay.
So,
slay.
But did you read the quiz? Okay, we're gonna start with the quiz, and I picked this out, and it says Smash or Pass, Lord of the Rings edition. I want your honest opinion. I'm not really gonna give my opinion on these. I'll give a few, but I want your honest opinion on them.
Okay.
So the first one is Frodo, the main character. Smash or Pass?
I'm gonna say pass. He looks like a miner.
He's like 100.
61% said pass.
I said smash because he's legal. He's just short.
Oh.
Hobbits are very short.
He has a baby face.
Next is Samwise Gamgee, also a hobbit, also legal.
I'm gonna say smash. He's kind of cute.
Okay.
Oh, okay, a little more even. 43% say smash.
I said pass. Next is Pippin. He is also a hobbit, also legal. I feel like I have to say they're legal because they do look like children in some of these.
Well, aren't they like super short?
Hobbits are about like 3 foot, give or take.
About 3 foot.
About.
I say smash. He's cute.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, 22% says smash.
He's kind of annoying. I love him, but he's kind of annoying.
Okay.
Next is Merry. His full name is Merryweather Took.
It sounds like the name of a cheese.
Merryweather Took?
Oh, I'm thinking of Tillamook.
Okay. Yeah, that checks.
Okay.
Also a hobbit, also legal.
I'm gonna say pass.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah. 76% pass.
A lot of people don't like Merry and Pippin. They're like a little duo. A lot of people don't like them. Next is one of my favorite characters of all time, Aragorn.
Oh, Aragorn.
Aragorn.
Doesn't he have dragons?
No. Not quite. Different series. That's Game of Thrones.
What's the name?
This one or the one in Game of Thrones?
No, the one with the dragons.
Well, there's a couple. There's like Daenerys. There's what's his name?
I thought it was like Land of Aragon or something.
Land of Aragon?
Or Dragons of Aragon? I'm just making myself sound like a fool.
House of the Dragons, because I think I know who you're thinking of. I just don't remember.
I'm gonna say smash though.
Aegon?
Aegon
is from...
Ooh.
Not from that. That is from House of the Dragon.
Gotcha.
Game of Thrones.
So close. I knew dragons was involved. Okay. 80% say smash.
Because he's very hot. He's a very attractive man. Viggo Mortensen? Pretty cool.
Rigor Mortis.
Rigor Mortis. Next is Legolas. He's an elf.
He's an elf?
He's an elf.
So it doesn't mean he's taller? No,
yeah.
He just helps Santa.
Not that kind of elf. Wrong elf.
Okay.
Elf. He's a Rivendell elf. So actually, he's not a Rivendell elf. I lied. He's a different kind of elf, but people know him as a Rivendell elf.
I'll say smash. He's cute.
He's 80% smash, 20% pass.
Okay. Gimli!
Gimli. Close.
Oh my god.
Dwarf.
He looks like Hagrid.
Is that good or bad?
Neutral.
Okay.
I'm gonna say pass. I'm not a huge fan of facial hair. He looks like the strength and conditioning coach. Shout out Matt.
Okay. Shout out Matt.
Matt has a great beard.
Okay, love that.
Ooh, 85% say pass. Okay.
Next is Boromir.
Is this Miley Cyrus's dad?
No, but like I see it.
Okay.
I see it.
Okay. I'm gonna say pass just for that.
Valid.
Okay, almost 50-50.
Next is your namesake. Gandalf.
Sir
Ian McKellen.
Pass.
Okay. You don't like old guys or?
Not ones without money.
He is.
Wait, it just reset
rich and famous in experience.
Oh.
Next is.
Oh, here we go.
Faramir, who's Boromir's younger brother. If you can't tell by their names being similar, it's a very common thing in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that if they're related, the names are going to be very similar.
Honestly.
It's really easy tell to know if someone's related or if someone's by themselves. Because if they're by themselves, they have a very unique name. But if they're related, like Frodo and Bilbo, related. Faramir, Boromir, related.
That's smart.
I know, right?
This guy, what's the... I got you, Pookie, from Shrek.
Oh, Prince Charming?
Yeah! That's what he makes me think of. I'll smash it.
Smash. Okay, 51%.
I broke the majority.
Next is Lord Elrond. He's an elf. He's from Rivendell.
He looks like, not Jim Carrey, John Mulaney. Like
a little bit. I see it.
If John Mulaney was like his cousin or
and
something.
had like a receding hairline.
Yeah, that's true. John Mulaney has a nice hairline. Okay. He does. I'm gonna pass.
Okay. Valid.
I like valid. Just like describing these. Ooh. Omer. Is that his name?
You're close, yeah.
Eormar?
It's Eomer.
Eomer. Okay.
A lot of Lord of the Rings names are like you just say every letter.
Oh, okay.
So
I keep thinking with the IR in their name and the ER, it reminds me of the different Spanish conjugation.
Kind of.
That's why I keep pronouncing it like that.
I get it. It took me a while, you know.
Tihoeden. You said I pronounced it real. No,
I said for most of them. For most of them.
I'm kidding. Pass.
Okay.
He looks like he'd be like my A-push teacher. Ooh, 6% said smash.
He's a little weird, so.
Okay.
How would you say that one? The next one.
Denethor?
Yeah.
Slay. Pass.
If you said smash, I'd be a little worried.
3% smash.
Literally crazy. Like, he's worrisome crazy.
Okay.
Saruman.
Honestly, smash.
Oh, okay.
Whoa. I'm not in the majority.
No.
Ew. Grima Wormtongue?
Yep.
Wormtongue. Is this like, who had fish? My bitches.
Oh,
is that
like Gollum? No.
Oh.
Different person. He is...
Looks like Gollum.
He's like think of like Igor from like Frankenstein. That's the vibe he gives off.
Yeah.
And 5% said they want to smash him.
Which is...
Next is Bilbo. Bilbo Baggins.
Looks like a polite gentleman. I'll smash.
He looks like a polite gentleman. I'll smash. He'd buy you dinner first.
He would.
He'd take you out to eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Make sure we have a nice time.
Next one's solid. This is Treebeard. He's a literal tree for our listeners who don't know Lord of the Rings.
He looks like Groot, but like...
Groot's grandpa.
But like group on... Groupon? Groot. Who went through like puberty or who was on steroids.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. I like how you're showing me as if I can't see it.
I know, as if you're not taking the same quiz. No. Smash.
I figured. Is that bad?
No.
Okay.
You saw it. Ew. Ooh.
This very specific orc, and the very specific orc has half of its face pretty deformed, as if orcs aren't deformed enough.
Pass. Okay. Sorry.
10% said smash.
Honestly, that's more than the other two guys.
I know.
Which is kind of weird.
This specific, my god. Urukai.
Is that just like a warrior?
They're like a very specific kind of orc that can actually form language. Most orcs cannot form language. They were basically manufactured, for lack of a better term, to speak language.
Oh, pass, but that's cool.
Yeah. Next is Gollum.
I hate how he looks. It just makes me so uncomfortable. Pass.
He has a really tragic backstory. Fun fact. That's the end. It's like pretty sad. That's the end of it.
What's his backstory? Are you gonna tell me?
We can hop into that first, just as like a little sneak peek. Basically, he was overcome. So the story of the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit's a little different, but the overall story is there are these rings that were made specifically for the different races in Middle Earth. So it's like 9 rings. I don't know the exact numbers. Sorry, not that big of a fan. The 9 rings were given to the elves, 7 rings were given to the dwarves, 8 rings were given to man, like humans, but they refer to them as man. So it's like they each got different rings that were forged from the fires of Mordor. Okay. One of those rings was called the One Ring. It was the one ring to rule them all. So there's all these little rings who have different powers. Then there's this one very, very powerful ring. Okay. That's the ring we focus on. Okay. That ring got put fell into a river, essentially. Smeagol was Gollum's original name, and he was a hobbit. Oh, yeah. Smeagol finds it and becomes so overwhelmed with this power that it basically, he separates himself from everyone. I believe he kills his brother. It's like a whole thing where he's like becomes so overcome with the want and power that comes with this ring that he lives in a cave by himself only to eat fish. When he loses it, he becomes tortured. Like, he's a very tortured kind of character just because he wanted so much power, and that's what turns him into that, is because he's only been eating fish for a certain, like, for, I think it's like, what is it? It's like 70-something years that he's only been eating raw fish. So that's why he's all decrepit and gross. And he's been alive for this long because of the ring and the power that it holds.
Huh.
See? So it's kind of sad a little bit. Kind of, you know, it's an overwhelming story of power. But, yeah.
Interesting.
If you could see Sierra's face, it was pretty funny to watch you process that story.
I'm just kind of, like, grossed out in a way. And I'm just like, eh. Is that, like, I was like, how likely is that for your, like, a real person to turn like that?
Well, there's, like, stories with, like the story of, the original story of, like, a Wendigo is, like, they were a man who were turned by cannibalism.
Yeah.
So, you know, it comes from somewhere. We're going to start with The Hobbit.
Slay.
3 movies. It's a 3-movie series. The Unexpected Journey, The Desolation of Smaug, and The Battle of the Five Armies. Those are the Hobbit movies.
I thought there was, like, 25.
No, there's only 6 movies in this whole series.
Oh,
and that's 3 of them.
Oh, okay.
And they cover the prequel to The Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I asked ChatGPT to give me a little backstory for it, and what it said was, The Hobbit tells the story of Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit who leaves a quiet life in the Shire until one day the wizard Gandalf and a group of dwarves show up at his door, and they persuade Bilbo to join their quest to reclaim the Lonely Mountain and its treasure from the dragon Smaug. That's essentially the plot of those movies.
Okay.
In the first one, as it says, you meet Bilbo Baggins, a sweet little hobbit man who kind of just is living life in his way, played by Martin Freeman. Super great at it. Super awesome. Played Bilbo in a way I didn't think he could. And then you have Gandalf, who's like a super cool, powerful wizard who's just like, hey, Bilbo, like, you want to go on an adventure? And Bilbo says, no, not really. And he's like, okay, sick. And then he marks his door, and then 13 dwarves show up one night, and they're like, hey, man, we're here for the party. And he's like, what party? What are you talking about? This is like, you know how people do like the Gen Z Bible? This is what this feels like right now. They're like, hey, man, we're here for the party. He's like, what party? And they're like, you know, the party. You're the thief. And he's like, I'm not a thief. I'm a great guy. What are you talking about? They're like, no, you're the thief. And he's like, okay, guys, don't know what you're talking about, but like, whatever. So then Gandalf comes, and he's like, hey, so I might have told them you're in. And Bilbo's like, but I'm not in. And they're like, but I might have said you are. And then they party.
Okay.
The whole big party. They sing a little song. The Hobbit is a little bit of a musical. There's some songs.
Oh, I love!
Yeah. They sing a little song called Blunt the Knives.
Okay.
Because he says don't, because they start smacking the knives, and he's like, don't do that, you'll blunt them. And then they like, make fun of him. Also, the 13 dwarves, I can name them by memory, and I think it's an awesome little superpower. I do have it written down, but I won't look.
Okay.
I only wrote it down because I had to make sure that I knew them and I wasn't wrong. There's 13 of them, and this is where that thing where it's like, if they sound similar, they're related, comes into play. Because there's Fili Kili, Thorin, Ori Dori Nori, Biffle Bofer Bomfer, Oin, Gloin, Dwalin, Balin. Yeah. Okay. And this is where it comes into play of anyone that sounds the same is related, and then Thorin's by himself. Okay. Thorin is Fili and Kili's uncle, and he is supposed to be the next king of the Lonely Mountain, which is where they're blue dwarves, because the mountain, the inside is blue, so they're called blue dwarves. And so that's they're trying to reclaim that from the big old dragon boy Smaug, who's like, this is my horde now, because you guys have a lot of fun little things. Smaug's played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and it's really, really good.
Love that. I didn't know he was in this series.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. But that's like the little plot. And then Bilbo's like, oh no, party, blah blah blah. He passes out. They leave him with a contract, and then he's like, I'm going on an adventure. And he has a change of heart, and he realizes, I gotta get out of this Shire. This is not for me. Yeah. So that's basically the plot of the first movie. We meet some elves that we've never met before. We meet Legolas. Legolas and Gandalf are the only ones, and technically Bilbo, are like the only ones that really appear in both movies. It's like a whole big thing.
Does Legolas have legs?
Yeah, he's an elf. So yeah.
Okay.
His name's just Legolas because that's his name.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was like, I didn't see the bottom half of him in the quiz, so I thought he had no legs.
No, he does.
We don't discriminate against paraplegic elves.
For sure. And then I also asked ChatGPT to give me another summary because I was bored, and I was like, how do you connect the two? Yeah. And so ChatGPT said, along the way, Bilbo encounters trolls, goblins, giant spiders, and the mysterious Gollum, who he has a fateful encounter with in the depths of the Misty Mountains. In the end, Bilbo proves himself to be much braver and cleverer than he thought. Essentially, Bilbo plays the fiddle a little bit, and he sneaks into the mountain before anyone else, and they're like, oh, we have to go find our families, because they're definitely not dead. Spoiler alert, they're all dead. And so Bilbo's like, I'm gonna go on an adventure, and he meets Smaug, and Smaug is like, where you at? Like, you know, about to pull up, and Bilbo's like, no, not really a fan. There's also a long-standing theory that Bilbo is gay for Thorin. That's a whole thing.
Oh my god.
Because the way they look at
whipped his head around.
He likes the gays. Are you a gay supporter?
He is.
I think you have to be.
He killed his husband, Pablo.
Oh, well, you know, so did many women back in the day. Essentially, yeah, and so he meets him, and then, what is it? Smaug's like, you're really greedy, and Bilbo's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yeah, you are. And then there's this one, I think it's called the Acheron, and it's like a really pretty gem that Thorin is like crazy for, because if he gets that, that means he's for sure king, even though he's technically already king. It's a whole thing. And that's in Smaug's hoard, and so Smaug is like, oh, I know that's what you're here for. And Bilbo's like, nah, that's not it. That is what he's there for. But essentially, he slips and falls into a deeper cave and finds Gollum, who has the ring, and then he takes the ring from Gollum, and then that's where the whole my precious thing comes from. That was a lot of information that really leads nowhere. Anyways, then you get to the second movie, which is called The Desolation of Smaug, in which you meet this guy called the Bard. You know Luke Evans? He's in that. He's the Bard.
Oh.
The Bard is a father of 3 children. He's called the Bard, but he plays no instruments. He's actually a ranger, but he's called the Bard. It's a whole thing. And so he lives in this town called Lake Town. Very clever, I know. He lives in Lake Town, and essentially the hobbits have to escape Rivendell, which is where the elves live, because the elves don't like them. There's a lot of racism in Lord of the Rings, and it's a lot between elves and dwarves. Don't like each other. It stems from a whole thing where, like, there was a war, and the dwarves thought the elves were coming to help, when in reality, they were not coming to help, and they were coming to help the enemies. So there was, like, a whole thing. Yeah. So then there's, like, this whole town, and the bard guy is like, oh, I'll sneak you guys into the town if you guys, like, help me get fish for my kids and all that stuff. It's a whole thing. And then he ends up killing Smaug. A lot of other unimportant stuff happens. Like, they get kidnapped. One of them almost dies. It doesn't matter. This is my SparkNotes version of the movie.
I love this.
So yeah, the bard then kills Smaug, and everyone's like, oh my god, you're so amazing and wonderful. We're so sorry we ever doubted you because your wife died. Yeah. And then Mr. Widowed Father Man meets up with Elven Widow Father Man, who's King Thandril. King Thandril is Legolas's father. Don't ask me why their names don't match. I don't know.
Okay.
But King Thandril is very, like, hard and... Ooh, I have a paper cut. He's very, like, angry papa. He is not a big fan of Legolas and his things. And he's like, you're a disappointment. And you disappointed your mother before she died. And he's like, okay, Dad, you suck. Yeah. And the reason Thandril doesn't like the dwarves is because they stole his dead wife's necklace. I know. Crazy. Oh my god. I feel like this is how I used to talk to, like, my mentees, too. I was like, I know. Crazy. Anyways, that happens. Bilbo becomes, like, a mediator between the two, and then we get to the Battle of the Five Armies, which I bet you can't guess what the plot of that movie is. I bet you can't.
What's the title? 5 Hour Maze?
The Battle of the Five Armies.
Oh, I thought you said the Battle of the 5 Hour Maze.
No.
I'm guessing there's 5 armies and they go into battle.
Oh my gosh, how'd you know?
I don't know.
That's essentially the whole plot.
Wow, okay.
And, like, everyone, in classic prequel fashion, where a lot of those characters were not totally in the books, a lot of them die because they can't, their impact can affect the Lord of the Rings, which was made first.
Yeah.
But they can't be alive during that, so a lot of them die. And then I also asked ChatGPT to write me, like, a connecting line, and it says, perhaps the most important part of Bilbo's journey is his discovery of the One Ring, an object of great power that will play a crucial role in Lord of the Rings. To which we move to the Lord of the Rings. Okay. Which is also 3 movies. There's the Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, which did come out after 9/11, which I think is wild.
Oh, no.
Sorry. I think it was filmed before, but came out after, and I think that's crazy. And then The Return of the King. Those are the 3 movies.
Okay.
You have 9 characters in this one that are important. You have Bilbo Baggins, Gandalf, Gimli, who's the son of Gloin, there's a whole really funny line in there that I think I talk about later, but I'm gonna talk about it now. In The Hobbit, where Legolas like is searching Gloin, and he pulls out like it's like a little picture card, but they're portraits because there's no electricity in Middle Earth, and there's a little picture card or portrait card, and he's like, who is this? Your brother? And he's like, no, that's my wife. And he's like, who's this? Like, who's this insufferable creature? What does he say? He's like, your dog or something? He's like, no, that's my son, Gimli. And then later, Legolas becomes, like, best friends with Gimli. It's a really funny thing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like I said, they don't like each other. There's a lot of racism. Anyways, Gimli, and then there's Legolas, and then Boromir, Aragorn, Sam, Merry, and Pippin. Those are the Fellowship. Mm-hmm. That's why it's called the Fellowship of the Ring. Bet you couldn't guess that. In the Fellowship of the Ring, the first movie, you get to meet Frodo, and he's just like, oh, I should go on an adventure, and it's around Bilbo's birthday, and Bilbo is like, oh, I'm gonna use this ring one more time. Frodo doesn't know he has the ring, but he's like, ooh, it's my 111th birthday, I think is what it is. And he's like, oh, like, thank you all for coming. It's like a whole big celebration. And then he, on stage, goes, whoop, flicks the ring on. He disappears. And it's a whole crazy thing. Oh That's God. The other thing. When you put the ring on, you go completely invisible. But some people can see you. Mm-hmm. Like, Smaug can see you, or Smaug could see him. There's these things called, like, what is it? Wayraths or something? Something like that? Warraths? Something. I've never been able to say their name properly because I have a little bit of a lisp, and it sucks. Anyways, they can see you, like, Sauron can see you, like, certain things can see into that realm, but, like, to everyone else, you're invisible. So he does it, and then Frodo's like, that was a crazy chick, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go live with the elves. You're holding down the fort, Frodo, and Frodo's like, okay, man, and he's like, yeah, don't let anyone see this ring. He's like, yes, sir, and then Gandalf comes in, he's like, where's the ring? Oh. He, like, pins Frodo down, it's a whole thing, and then Sam gets roped into it because Sam is eavesdropping, and he says a really funny line where he says, I ain't dropping no ease, sir. I thought it was really funny. I think it's hilarious every time I watch it. Some of the writing in that, you're like, damn, that's good. But he says, I ain't dropping no ease, sir, and then he gets pinned to a table, and then they're like, you have to go together, and then Merry and Pippin get roped in because they're running away from a farmer because they stole crops. Uh-huh. Yeah, and then there's a whole tumble thing. Yeah, crazy stuff happens. And then by the time they get to, like, by the time they get to Rivendell, which is the very important elfy place, they're like, oh, look, we have all these, like, people who want to join you, or all these people on the council, because every race had to send, like, a representative because of this one ring, and they're like, we have to destroy it. It has to go to Mount Doom in Mordor. Yeah. And so they form the Fellowship, and they have a whole moment where they're like, you have my sword, and my axe, and my this, and my that. And it's like this really, like, grand moment that everyone quotes. That's a fun thing. If you ever hear someone say, like, you have my sword, it's basically saying, like, I'll help you. Oh, okay. And then you have the Two Towers where the Fellowship breaks off because they're like, guys, we all have different priorities. We have to go protect other things. And so Frodo and Sam go to Mordor to get rid of the ring. Aragorn and the others are fighting Sauron, only to then... Oh yeah, Boromir dies too. That's a whole thing. He gets stabbed. By that one Uruk-hai guy. Oh. He stabs him. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why they meet Faramir.
I think I saw... did you ever watch the Try Guys try hosting a TV show? Yeah. And Keith and, like, Brandon Hunt reenact something from... What was it? The Twin Towers?
The Two Towers, not the Twin Towers. The Two Towers. Two Towers.
Okay, that's the only bit of information I know, and that keeps popping up in my head.
I mean, yeah, that is what happens. He gets stabbed, and then he's like, oh, protect the hobbits, because the hobbits get stolen. Merry and Pippin get stolen. Frodo and Sam are off doing their own shit. I see. Also, Gandalf's not here for a lot of it either. He kind of keeps dipping in and out, because he knows Saruman the Grey, or the White, I think he's white. Anyways, he's, like, talking to him, and he's like, no, don't do this. And Saruman's like, hey, fuck you. That's all right. He says, like, hey, you. And also, Saruman and Sauron, two very different people.
I know the Eye of Sauron.
Yes.
It's like the...
It's the eye thing. He's in a Lego movie.
Yeah, that's how I know.
Yeah, I figured. And then there's, like, a whole big battle, da-da-da-da. And then, the hobbits get taken, so then Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli have to go and find them. And there's a really funny thing that someone memed, and it's a very popular meme. It's like, you know how people used to do little songs and stuff? Like the hide your wife, hide your kids thing. Little songs like that. Someone did one with one of the lines, and it was like, Aragorn says, like, Legolas, what do your elf eyes see? Because apparently elves can just see anywhere they want to look. And he goes, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, and someone made it a whole song, and it's really, really funny. Strongly recommend it after the pod to watch it. But yeah, jeez, that happens. And then we get to Return of the King. Oh, Sammy. In Return of the King, Frodo and Sam reach Mount Doom. They destroy the ring.
Please move.
You find out that Aragorn is actually a king.
Nope.
You also find out...
Get off my charger, please. Nope. Ow. Come over here.
Go that way.
Come here.
Go that way.
Good boy. Good boy.
Go that way. You also
For the listeners, Sammy was sitting on my charger, and I was trying to discreetly get him off of it, but he kept, like, pawing at me. Did he just move those, or did you?
No, he did. He moved them.
Damn, the power of ball is strong within.
I was like, I just grabbed it so it wouldn't fall in him. Yeah, Return of the King, you find out Aragorn is actually like a descendant of the kings of Gondor. Gondor was the human town, and you find out Aragorn's a half-elf. So he's not human, but he doesn't live as long as an elf. Like, elves live to, like, be, like, 5,000 years old. He lives to be, like, 300 years old, so it's, like, a little bit longer than, like, men. A little bit longer, because men usually live to, like, 100, so it's, like, he lives a little longer. And, yeah, it's, like, a whole thing. And then you're like, oh, my gosh, he gets to live with his, like, crush, which is Eowyn, who we haven't really talked about a lot, but she's, like, kind of hot. She's kind of hot. But, yeah. And then they all get to live happily ever after. Frodo goes into the little ether, and yeah. Yes?
Question, I'm so
yeah, what's up?
What's Gandalf?
A wizard. That's a whole... Wizards are an entirely different race.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, wizards are an entirely different race than men, which are an entirely different race from... I forget how to say what Aragorn is, but I keep calling them half-elves because that's essentially what they are.
Yeah.
He's an entirely different race. Like, men are an entirely different race from half-elves. It's like, they're all very different, and they all have very different lifespans.
Huh.
So, like, there's a show called The Rings of Power, which is set about... like 4,000 years before The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And Gandalf is in that.
Oh, okay.
But he's a wizard.
Yeah.
So it's like he's a full-grown adult in that like show. And so then it's like once you get to Lord of the Rings, he's about 4,000 years old at least.
Okay.
But wizards don't live as long as elves. Okay. Elves live for like hundreds of thousands of years. I wrote down some important places. There's a lot of them, but they're also all very short little things. Okay. There's the Shire. That's where the hobbits live. Okay. It's literal holes in the ground.
That was filmed in New Zealand,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
And there is a Hobbiton because it's technically called Hobbiton is what the land is called. The Shire is specifically what Bilbo and Frodo refer to their house as. Okay. But lots of people just refer to like the area as the Shire, but it's technically called Hobbiton. Okay. And there is a Hobbiton in New Zealand. Okay. Which is really, really fun. You can't stay there, but they built like little hobbit holes and they built the Green Dragon, which is like a pub there. It's really cool. It's a really cool, I really want to go. It's on my bucket list.
A link from Good Mythical Morning went. And I was like, I want to go, even though I'm not a fan of The Hobbit.
I got to live vicariously through them when that happened.
Oh,
so I was like,
so good.
Yes. Because I want to go so bad. And then there's Rivendell, which is it's like a little hidden valley, and there's specific elves that come from there. Huh. There's a specific kind of elf. They're usually known for having, like, dark hair. Those are the dark hair elves. I know that's really random, but that's usually what they're classified as. It's like dark hair elves. And then there's Mordor. Mordor's the scary, spooky place where Sauron lives. Yeah. That's literally what I wrote, was scary, spooky place where Sauron lives. And then there's Gondor, which is the kingdom of men. A lot of these places have very similar names. Mordor, Gondor, you see. Yeah. And then there's the Misty Mountains, which is also in The Hobbit.
Doesn't Ed Sheeran have a song about it?
He does.
Okay.
He did the
See, song I know something.
for Desolation of Smog. He did the after song.
Okay.
It's called I See Fire. It's
yes.
a really, really good song.
Yes.
But he does mention it. Okay. It's a great song. I love that song. The Shire and Rivendell are also in The Hobbit. I marked which ones are also in there, and you see. Also, fun fact about both of those, I definitely didn't use them in a D&D campaign I'm currently in. I have a my character is an elven princess, and she's from Rivendell, because I didn't want to completely steal it.
Yeah.
But she did run away with another player in the campaign who is one of my close friends, and they did get married, and they live in a place called the Shire that we lovingly named it.
Oh, I love.
Yeah, it was a fun little nod because we both are huge. That's how we bonded. So shout out Tommy. He plays Aiden. That's the other guy's name. So it's Eddie and Aiden are our characters, and we definitely didn't base them off of any Lord of the Rings characters whatsoever.
Obviously not.
Obviously not. And then you have the Misty Mountains, as we were saying. That is where technically that is the mountain range that the Lonely Mountain is in, and that is where the dwarves are from.
Okay.
The blue dwarves are from the Misty Mountains.
Sammy.
And then there's Lorithiel. Yeah, it's a very spooky, mystical, like little forest that basically you can't die there. It's kind of like the Ether, as I love calling it. The Ether, there's not actually an Ether, but the elves don't die. They go on to the land of land of something, but I call it the Ether because it's funnier and easier to remember. So there's that, and that's ruled by Galadriel, who's like a really hot elf. And then her husband, Celeborn, who, if you watch the TV show Rings of Power, apparently he's dead, but he's alive in Lord of the Rings. I don't know. It's an oversight on someone's part. The show did come out after, so technically they're not following the lore, but Celeborn is apparently dead, even though you see him very clearly in Lord of the Rings.
Huh.
But then there's Isengard, which you don't really ever see, but you do, hear of it. And that's where Saruman, the White Wizard, that's where he rules. That's his kingdom, is Isengard. Then you have Helm's Deep, which is just a random stronghold that they kind of hide out in. And then there's the Dead Marshes, which are right by Mordor. You have to cross through them to get there, and that's where, I think Frodo gets, sucked into a river. And then there's the Dead Marshes, which I think Frodo gets pulled into, a river, and he sees, a bunch of dead people.
Oh.
Yeah. And then there's the Mirkwood Forest.
So, basically, Peoria.
Huh?
Basically, what is it, Lake Pleasant?
Yeah, essentially, 100%. Then there's the Mirkwood Forest, which is very dark and dense, and it's on the other side of the Misty Mountains. Rivendell Forest is on one side, and then they're on the other side. And then there's Lake Town. It's a town by a lake.
No way.
Yeah, I know. It's a human town by a lake.
Oh.
And then there's the Lonely Mountain, which is a mountain that is all by itself, but it's technically a part of the Misty Mountains, but it's by itself. The other mountains are here, and then it's over here. And there's a gap.
Okay.
It's a weird...
There's a valley.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it a valley. There's just, area, and then they're separate. Okay. But it's counted in that mountain range. And then there's the Woodland Realm, which that is the one that's in Mirkwood Forest, and that's what's run by King Thandril, and they're blonde elves. That's how you know they're different. It's because they're blonde elves and ginger elves.
Oh.
But only the brunette elves are from Rivendell. I didn't make the rules. But those are all the little locations. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
No.
It's a lot. It took me years. I've been a Lord of the Rings fan since I was 10-ish.
Oh, wow.
And then I also have some funny memes that I want to say to you.
Please.
And then I want you to... What's the time?
35.
Oh, we got so much time. Good, because I wanted to spend a lot of time on these.
Please, we can.
I'm going to say it to you, and I want you to try to give me context.
Okay.
I'll tell you the character and the movie it's from.
Okay.
But I want you to try to give me the context.
Okay.
Because I think that would be so funny.
Okay.
I came up with this with Hunter. I was like, what's a little thing Sierra could do so that Sierra is a part of the podcast? And this was part of his idea, and I just expanded.
I love that. Okay.
So the first one is from Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay.
It's said by Boromir, and he says, one does not simply walk into Mordor. What do you think the context is?
I think he's with a group of others.
Okay.
And instead of well, actually, he's one cannot simply walk into Mordor. And then somebody does simply walk into Mordor.
You're not wrong. The context would be that he delivers the line during the council when they're all making the fellowship. Okay. And he's basically just talking about how it's very difficult to approach.
Okay.
Now, since it's a meme, how do you think people would use that meme?
I don't know. I guess if someone's oh, I'm going to just go hike a mountain. It's easy. Then they would send that being it's not that easy.
Yeah, you got it straight on. It's essentially people will take out Mordor, and it'll be one does not simply, and then something difficult. So it's like one does not simply hike a random ass mountain.
Okay.
The next one you did mention, but it's from Gollum. And it's the My Precious from the Two Towers. What do you think context, and how do you think people use it?
Context is he's guarding a fish.
Okay.
I think, right? He's holding something, and I think it's a fish. And, I mean, if somebody or someone is, like, really possessive over something, I think that's what they would use it in.
Okay. It's technically, context is the ring. It's the ring is his precious.
Duh. Why would he be guarding a fish?
I just don't let you run with that. Like, yeah, fish. But the meme is often used when people describe, like, relationships, favorite food, objects. It's, like, a humorous way of saying, like,
this
you're
is
mine.
mine. Yeah.
Do you have a Gollum impression?
Do you want me to do a Gollum impression?
I'll do one if you do it.
Okay. My precious.
That was good.
Okay.
Oh, now I gotta do one. I'm sick. Hold on. Actually, that might help me. I was doing it when Hunter was up here. I was being funny. On my graduation night, instead of going and partying, we played a really nerdy game and watched The Hobbit, and I kept going, my precious, my preciouses, and I kept doing it, and he just kept looking at me, and I was like, what? Do you hear something? Like, what's going on?
I love that.
So, that was how I spent my graduation.
As you should.
A lot of people partied. I played a nerdy-ass board game with my boyfriend.
So real.
The next is I'm Gonna Die from Return of the King, said by Pippin.
I feel like the context is Pippin is being way over dramatic about something, and he's like freaking out. Like if there's a snake crossing their path, and the snake doesn't even give a crap about them. He's like, I'm gonna die. Sorry.
And then how do you think people use that meme?
Probably again being over dramatic. Where if, like, let's say you're like, oh man, I can't film I can't film the podcast today. Like, I am sick.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm gonna die. Like, just being so over dramatic about it.
So you're right in the meme context. Okay. It's used as a reaction meme to express like overwhelmed feelings.
Okay.
And the context is it's during a battle. And he genuinely doesn't know if he's going to survive. And he's, like, he's a comic relief character. Okay. So he says it in a very, like, funny, panicked way. Yeah. Like, I'm going to die. So you were right on that, too. The next one is, I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you, from Return of the King, said by Sam.
Sam is obviously carrying Sam's an elf, right?
He's a hobbit. Oh. He's, like, deemed as, like, Frodo's best friend.
Oh, then he's going to be carrying something smaller than him.
Okay.
I don't know who. Probably another hobbit.
Okay.
It's probably because, like, the other is like, I'm too tired. I don't want to do this. And he's like, well, can't carry that, but I can carry you.
Yeah.
Kind of.
How do you think people use the meme?
Kind of, like, supportingly. Like, you can't lead... Well, if you lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
Yeah, okay.
And so you're just like, well, I can't do your homework for you, but I can be there for you, kind of thing.
Yeah. So context is it's an emotionally charged line as he carries Elijah Wood, Frodo, up the mountain. Because basically, he can't carry the ring, because if they can't pass on the ring, it's a weird rules with the ring. And if he does, like, Sam might kill Frodo, or vice versa, because of power. So he's like, I can't carry that, but I'll carry you. And I did pull up a picture because I wanted you to see how he carries him. Like full fireman carry over the shoulder. And you were right in the support aspect of like people use it as like, I can't do that for you, but I can be there for you. Next is from the Two Towers. Legolas says, I'm on a horse.
I can imagine he's not on a horse. No, wait, either he's not on a horse and he's on, like, a ridiculous animal or something and just, like, trying to gaslight himself into otherwise.
Okay.
Or someone is trying to ask something of him and he's like, no, I'm on a horse. Like, I can't do that. And then the context would be like similar to like Captain Obvious, just be like, duh, like I'm on a horse.
Okay.
I don't know if either of those
I
made
like
sense.
that so much better than what it actually is. Essentially, he's like on top of a building at first. He's shooting enemies because he's a ranger, so he has a bow and arrow. He slides down the side of a building, lands on a horse, and then continues to go. So it's like a very awesome moment of badassery, and then he tells someone, like, I'm on a horse.
Okay.
And basically people just use it as like, oh, if that was awesome, boom, here's like, I'm on a horse, like, awesome moment. It's a stupid meme. That's my least favorite meme.
Okay.
But I love that scene.
Okay.
I liked yours so much better. Next is Gandalf's "You shall not pass" from the Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, he has his staff. It's like, you shall not pass. And he's telling someone they can't go that way. And people use that meme to tell others no.
Okay.
I don't really know that one.
Yeah, so he confronts the Balrog in the bridge of Khazad-dûm, and he says, you shall not pass, to let everyone else escape, and that's like his death, although he comes back. And the meme is often used in the form of an image with the text, you shall not pass, and it's just like being blocked or denied.
Okay.
Or something. Next is, I wish the ring had never come to me, from Frodo from the Fellowship of the Ring.
Sammy, come here. I wish the ring had never. It's just him freaking out. Just being like, I wish this was never my path. I'd rather be at home eating second dinner or whatever.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, regretting. People, I think, send it to each other out of, like, regret or something. Yeah, that's all I have for that one.
I mean, yeah. He's expressing sorrow and frustration to Gandalf about the ring, and then the meme is just used as, like, if it's a relatable situation, people will be like, yeah, that's, like, the sympathy meme is, like, here you go. The Lord of the Rings has a lot of sympathy memes. Next, I think I only have a couple more. But next is, this is a fine day, from the Two Towers, said by Ghibli.
I think one of two things is happening.
Okay.
One, it's ironic, and he says, this is a fine day. And then all of a sudden, it's like, war starts, and it's not a fine day anymore. Or he's in the middle of, like, a storm or something bad, and he's being sarcastic. So it's either ironic or sarcasm.
Okay, and then how do you think people use the meme?
I'd say, like, in sarcasm, like, if all hell's breaking loose, they're like, it's a fine day. Like, you know the dog in the house that's on fire?
It's fine.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah, you hit the meme right on the head. Essentially, he delivers the line after a very long and treacherous journey, and it's very dangerous, and he's just, like, one more bad thing happens, and he's like, yep, this is great. And then people use it as, like, a funny, like, it's fine, everything's fine.
I see.
Next is, what about second breakfast? Said from the Fellowship of the Ring by Pippin.
I think they're, like, trying to plan a journey or something, like, it's the Fellowship, and they're trying to plan out, and they listed all of their meals, and then Pippin has to be like, well, what about second breakfast? Like, he just really wants his second breakfast. And I think it's used by, like, people who just overlook the basics, you know? Like, well, if we're going to be at Disneyland all day, where are we going to get lunch? That kind of.
You hit the meme, like, on the head.
Okay.
And the context for it, it's my favorite, and it's one of the few scenes from those movies I can recite, like, verbatim, because it's so funny to me. But essentially, they're going on their journey, and they're like, okay, we have to go, like, we have to leave. And he's like, okay, what about breakfast? And they're like, yeah, we had it. And he's like, no, we had one, yeah, but what about second breakfast? And they throw him an apple, and then Mary's like, I don't think they know about that. And he's like, they don't know about second breakfast, or this, and they list, because hobbits eat, like, 12 times or something. I pulled up the eating schedule because I was curious, and so it's breakfast at 7 a.m., second breakfast at 9 a.m., 11sies at 11, luncheon at 1, afternoon tea anytime between 1 and 6, dinner is at 6, and supper is at 9. So he lists them all off, and they're like, I don't think he knows about any of those. And it's like, that's like the meme context or the funny parts of it. Next is...
I'm listening.
No, I was trying to pick between them, because I kind of reference both of these, but I'm curious to see if you can tell me the meme context of them.
Okay.
So next is, you have my sword, said by Legolas in Fellowship of the Ring. I kind of already told you the context of it, but what do you think the meme context is?
It's like, I'm with you, brother.
Yeah.
Kind of like, how did you describe it? Like, one.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with you in battle.
Yeah.
I don't know how people would use it in a meme context, though. Maybe, I guess, like, emotional support again or something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of, like, if someone's going through something difficult, it's like, you have my sword. Which is funny, because he doesn't have a sword. He actually has a bow and arrow. But he starts it off and goes, you have my sword. And it's really funny.
Emotional sword.
Yeah. That sounds bad. You have my emotional sword.
Yikes.
I feel like the should follow that. My emotional sword.
Yikes.
I also already talked about it, but they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, also from Legolas, from the Two Towers. How do you think people use that as, like, a meme?
It's nothing said, they're just taking him?
Huh?
What do you mean?
That he says it. Like, so that's the line I was telling you about.
Oh,
like,
the sword.
No, this is a different line. Where they're like, in this movie, Aragorn says, Legolas, what do your elf eyes see? And he says, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
I think the context is they're just trying to see any issues.
Okay.
Like, surveying the scene. And then for meme context, I don't know, kind of like a Raven moment where it's like a vision, you know?
That's so funny. So it's a meme by a guy who unfortunately has passed away. He was a very big part of the Lord of the Rings community. He did pass away. But you can cut this out, but I do want to show you it and get your reaction to it after, because it's a video meme. Okay. It's a meme you kind of have to watch, so I'll show you part of it, because I think it's so funny, and I need you to understand why it's so funny. Or why people might find it funny.
Honestly, Shrek Rave has nothing on this. Stop!
Anyways, that's the meme.
I love that.
So now, live reaction, or not live, but after reaction.
Iconic. Definitely not what I thought it was gonna be, but still great.
It's one of those ones where that's one of the few where it's like you can try to explain it to someone. Like, I was like, yeah, it's like a remix video, but it's really hard unless you watch it. That was my whole childhood.
I love that.
I remember watching, fun fact, the reason I got into film was The Hobbit, because I used to watch there were 3 different 2.5 hour long behind the scenes videos. And I would watch them start to end. And then there was Lord of the Rings ones too that were about 4 hours long, and there was 3 of them. And I used to watch them all the time. And that's what got me into it, and that's how I found out about that meme. Because they had Orlando Bloom react to it. That leads me to another very viral thing I think I quote, not with my dad, but with some of my friends. Yeah. That, so there's Elijah Wood's blind. That's a very important thing. Not actually, but his eyesight is so bad, he can't really see what's in front of him. And so he did a interview with what he thought was a German interviewer. It was just one of his co-stars, and basically he asked him in a very nice German accent, he says, do you wear wigs? And he says, no, I don't. And he goes, have you worn wigs? And he goes, no, I have not. And he goes, will you wear wigs? And he goes, no, I will not. And it's so funny, and I think I just recently found people who I can quote it with, and it's so funny to just look at them and just go, do you wear wigs?
I never knew the context of it. I just knew, like, the audio of, do you wear wigs? No, do not. Will you wear wigs?
No, I will not. And he goes, when will you wear wigs? It's so funny. But
I love that.
The guy who's doing the German accent, or whatever the accent, he plays Merry in Lord of the Rings. Okay. His name's Dominic Monaghan. He's an awesome show where he travels around the world and shows you different animals. When I was a camp counselor, I played that show all the time. It was called like Wild Things with Dominic Monaghan or something. Great show, super informative. He's super adventurous. On the show, he did get bit by a monitor lizard and then turned it into he's an awesome scar from it. He turned into an awesome Star Wars thing. Like, he's also in Star Wars, but he did an awesome Star Wars quote in it. He's like my icon. I wish I wasn't afraid of animals.
But are you afraid of Sammy?
No. I used to be, not gonna lie, but that's just because I don't like dogs. Or big dogs.
Aw, you could have told me that.
No, I fell in love with that one.
Okay.
It's just a thing. Anyways.
No, that's right. A lot of people are.
But, yeah, so this was the show, Wild Things with Dominic Monaghan, and he...
Oh.
You can watch it on Hulu. Plug in his show for him. I love him. I think he's awesome. He's so cool. But anyways, that's kind of all I had. How do you feel about Lord of the Rings now?
Honestly, I'm very intrigued.
Really?
Because I knew very little. And when I was younger, I used to be very into the, like, fantasy world kind of thing. Like... Not really I never read the Harry Potter books, but I watched all the movies. And, like, Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympia, like, Greek mythology, things like that. And so I'm like, this is, like, some sort of mythology, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Because, like, what was it? Like, the Nordics believed, like, elves and dwarves and all these people existed. And so I'm like, I did try and read The Hobbit one time in like high school, and the book was like
pretty thick.
That thick. I think I got about maybe 40 pages in, and then I was like, I'm done.
I recommend people watch the movie first. It's a one series. I'm like, hey, watch the movies first, then read the books, because the books have a lot of information the movies don't. But if you can watch the movies first, then when you're reading the book, you have pictures already. Your brain doesn't have to like formulate these things. You just know, like, oh, I know what this character looks like. I can continue because I have an image of it, or I remember this scene, so it's like easier to go through. It's the same thing with Harry Potter. I recommend a lot of people read those books first, because it's a big world that you're jumping right into, and sometimes you gotta just be like, well,
no,
that's not where I want to be.
No, so. I think I would definitely watch the movies, since there's only 3 of them, you said? Or there's 6?
Lord of the Rings, 3 Hobbits.
Okay.
So.
Okay, yeah.
And you can watch them in any order. Some people do, it's like Star Wars. Some people do release order. Some people do story order. That's the one series. I'm like, watch it in whatever order you want. It really won't matter.
You'll get the gif.
You'll understand
GIF?
it either. Gist.
I was like, GIF is a peanut butter.
You'll understand it either way.
Okay.
So.
Okay, that's definitely a recovery watch.
Yeah, for sure. But, obsessions?
Oh, yeah.
I have 2.
Go for it.
I have a future obsession because it's not out yet, so I can't be obsessed with it yet.
Okay.
There's a new video game coming out in March of 2025 called Tales of the Shire. And it's basically you run around as a little hobbit, and I really, really want it. And I already told Hunter that it's coming out around our anniversary, and that if he wants to get me a present, that's a great present to get me.
I love.
So, really excited for that. And then my current obsession is I just got the Hogwarts Legacy game for my Switch. I have it on my computer, but my computer can't run it. So I wasted $60 for no reason. But then it was on sale for $15 on the Switch. So I got it, and I've been playing it nonstop. I will say I've only put 3 hours into it, but I've been packing. So
that's fair.
We're filming this when I'm currently moving, so I have not had time to really play video games, but I have played that one a lot. It's so fun. I made my girl, she's so cute, let me tell you. But I got 2 gripes with that game. 1, I can't romance anyone. Not saying it has to be in every video game. But I kind of wanted a little Hogwarts romance.
It makes it a little more fun.
Oh, 100%. If I could, like, pursue someone on top of being, like, a badass, 100%. I've cursed a lot this episode.
That's okay.
And then my other gripe is there's not a lot of, like, interactions with people. You can only interact with them if you have a quest with them. And it's kind of annoying because I want to just be able to walk up and talk to people. Like, even if they're not an important character, I want them to just have some sort of dialogue to say to me, and they never do. And it's so annoying. But other than that, great game, awesome graphics. I still don't know the story, though. I'm still really confused. But I'm only 3 hours in.
Okay.
So I think there's, like, 60 hours of gameplay or something. So I'm only 3 hours in.
Yeah, so you got a lot of time. My obsession... I was going to say oxycodone. I cannot say that. No. Oh, I didn't mean to have this out, but my skin has been so dry, and also, I got like a Trader Joe's advent calendar.
I saw on your little Instagram.
This stone fruit scented body butter from Trader Joe's. Do you want to smell it?
Yes.
It smells so yummy. Like it smells like a gelato or something.
This is such a random thing. It smells like how my great grandma used to smell. She was very, like, a lotioned woman. She likes lotion, as far as I was aware. Or she likes certain scents. That smells like her house. And I don't know why.
Apricot?
Maybe.
I don't know why.
It's just the memories. I'm like, ooh, yeah.
Well, that's my obsession besides the other products from my Trader Joe's I've encountered. But
cool. And then advice.
Advice, yes.
Advice for taking time for yourself.
Advice for taking time for yourself. Do you have an example?
I just was like trying to think like, this is, so Lord of the Rings, as I kind of said, is my form of self-care. I will watch them, like, if I'm sad, I watch Lord of the Rings. If I'm bored, I watch Lord of the Rings. If I need to do something, I watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That's my, like, always been my thing of, like, if I need to do something and I don't want to put on a new movie, my 6 comfort movies are right there. So it's, like, that's my form of taking time for myself is, like, I'll put on a movie or something and I'm taking time for myself as well as getting what I need to do done. Or if, like, I'm just sad and I want to cry, I'll cry during the happy scenes of Lord of the Rings. Like,
real.
You know, that's kind of the way I was going is like kind of self-care-esque, but like just taking time for you as a person. What's some advice you have for people? I know I pulled out a thinker for this one.
You know, well, it's making me think that I don't really intentionally take time for myself.
And that's why I thought it'd be a great thing to bring up because it forces us to think about it.
I know. Now I'm taking time for myself after surgery, which you guys will hear would have heard in the last episode. I think that one comes out first before this one.
Which one?
The Marvel one.
Yeah. I'm looking at the document. I got an idea for a pod, so I wrote it down.
Heck yeah. Be grateful for the little things. And I was a second year mentor. When I was a second year mentor. One of my GA at the time, she was like, you need to be grateful for more things. And I was like, okay. And so she sent me on a project or like a mission to take pictures of everything that I'm grateful for. Aww. And I still kind of keep up that practice.
Yeah.
It's a little hard now that I only have one arm.
Yeah.
But still being grateful for like, okay, this isn't going to be forever. I only have one arm temporarily.
Yeah.
I'm still able to do a lot of things independently, which I was very unsure if I was going to be able to do. And so I think taking moments of gratitude is what you can do to take care of yourself, you know?
Oh, for sure. My other thing is don't be afraid to go out to eat. I hate going out to eat. Not hate it, but I always feel bad because I'm like, I have food at home. Why am I going out to eat? But recently, I've been going out to eat a lot, and I'm like, this is awesome. I had Wendy's last night. I didn't realize how good Wendy's was until recently. They have cinnamon rolls.
Yes, there's
I didn't know that. That's the only reason I go now.
It's one thing if you like just grocery shopped and you're going out, but like you're actively moving out, and so
I have no food. Yeah. I've been eating yogurt for every meal right now.
So real.
Yogurt and crackers.
I also just love going out to eat by yourself. That's I started doing it when I got in college because I was like, I didn't have any friends, but I wanted to go out to eat, so I went out to eat by myself.
That's me with the movies. I go to the movies by myself. That's my other piece of advice. Go to the movies by yourself. It's a whole different experience, whole different ballgame. I might go see a movie tonight by myself. It'd be so for real. Because I'm trying to think. Because sometimes my friends make plans. They're like, yeah, let's go see this movie together. And so I have to think, like, am I going?
No, you're so fine. But, yeah, that's all the advice I have.
Okay. Anything else? Sammy moment.
Oh, cute Sammy thing.
If you don't have one, I have one. I have a Sammy improvement.
Yeah, go for it.
I watched Sammy while you were dealing with your wrist. Mm-hmm. And I took him for a walk. And Hunter was up here, and he stayed in the car. But we were walking around, and I passed by the car to tell him, hey, I'm going to take him up, feed him his advent calendar, and then I'm going to dip.
Yeah.
So can you come wait in front of the apartment complex so I don't have to walk? And he was like, yeah. And I was trying to keep Sammy at one end of the car and then talk to Hunter through the window at the other end. And I was, like, talking to him, and Sammy walked up and just sat in front of Hunter's door and just, like, looked at him and was just watching him. And Hunter was, like, kind of staring at him, and I was like, say hi, say something. And he goes, hi, Sammy. And Sammy just watched. Aww. And then when I was trying to walk away, he wouldn't move, and I was like, okay, like, that's a little, I kind of got worried, but then I was like, Hunter, can you just, like, move or something? And he, like, put his arm up, and Sammy just watched him, was just, like, watching, and then I was like, do you want to, like, see if he'll smell your hand? And he goes, sure. He smelled his hand completely fine, let him pet him, and then he walked away.
Oh!
It was from the car, but we made a little Sammy improvement, and I was so proud of him.
Yay!
But he, like, let Hunter pet him, or pet his head. It was funny, though, because you can tell when Sammy was done, because Hunter was, like, petting him, and then he just, like, dodged and walked away, and I was like, cool, we did it, I'm not gonna push the envelope.
Yeah, that's great.
For context, Sammy and Hunter don't totally mix.
Yeah.
100%. But I wasn't even meaning to try. I just need to tell Hunter, hey, come pick me up over there so I don't have to walk.
No, that makes me feel better, like, if Hunter were to ever come here again. Because, like, last time, I think towards the end of the visit when Hunter was here, Sammy was, like, okay with him.
Yeah.
But it was still, like, they weren't as close as some of the other guys I've seen with Sammy. But
I also, like, no offense, Hunter, doesn't like dogs. He's not a big fan of dogs.
Valid.
So it was one of those things where I know he likes Sammy, because I like Sammy.
Yeah.
He has to like Sammy. That's our godchild over there, under the table currently. But it was just, like, I don't know, fun to see. It was nice to see some improvements.
Yes.
Because I've noticed a lot of improvement with Sammy now that I take him for walks.
Yes, he's a very good boy. He's been an absolute menace the past few days, though. But, yeah, that's about it. Any other closing thoughts?
I don't think so.
Hopefully in January, because this comes out the 3rd week of January, I think, which will be after my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
The next episode that we will record is going to be a full story of my journey with Kienbach's disease and my wrist surgery, which you'll hear a little bit about, or which you have heard a little bit about that in the Marvel podcast. And I'll also be giving some insight on turning 23. Woo! Woohoo! But anyways, as for now, pasta la vista.